PXN. 3 letters I've had on the channel not once but twice, about a year apart, to check out their entry-level, very budget-friendly, ready-to-rip and race kits that include pedal, shifter, bass, wheel, all the bits and bobs that make you slower than your friend that's on controller. But this time, as we tango with PXN on the dance floor, it is with one of their most interesting models, and it is at a time where I have more racing sim experience than ever before, as I've dove headfirst into the deep end, spending the good portion of the last 3 months fiddling and fondling with the likes of Moza, the Butt Blaster, Ass Grasper, ThrustMaster, logically Logitech, the king of console compatibility, Simicube, Sim Magic, it's another company that has the word sim in the name, and of course Fanatec, or Fanatic, if that's how you feel about the hobby of racing sim. I think it's pronounced Fanatec, but experts of the internet, please drop in the comment section below if you had an aunt that worked at the company and you know the exact pronunciation. I've heard reviewers call it both. Fanatec, regardless, big robust ecosystem, and the company's been under a lot of pressure. Off topic, Fanatec video perhaps coming in the near future. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the V99, and just because that number is the highest in the lineup does not mean it is the highest end flagship model from PXN, as they do have the V10, which is a direct drive wheel that at the end of this review, I'm going to touch on why I personally have zero interest in checking out, which is crazy because it's a DD, it's a direct drive wheelbase, which you think would be right up my Diagon alley. It's not, because it's still in the PXN ecosystem. You can run the intro right there. So a quick disclaimer to my audience, the Stallions and Stallionettes, this product was sent for review several months ago, and it was one of the many products that's been sitting in the closet, just patiently waiting for a review as I've been on my vision quest, my spiritual journey. In all reality, it was just a mental health break that I needed. Back, I'm well refreshed, and I'm here, ready to fuck, ready to grind. This product was sent for review, but this is going to be an honest, comprehensive review. The company PXN doesn't get an early preview. They don't know when the video is going to be posted. I have not been paid to say or not say anything about the product, and the thoughts in the video are 100% my own. So if there's any cons, shortcomings, or areas of improvement, which there are, you're going to hear about it. Sharing my screen, we are going to take a look at the website. A simple Google search will reveal to you that PXN is actually Shenzhen Electronic Technology Co. A simple look at the lineup will reveal to you that PXN focuses on very budget or entry-level equipment. For under $300, you can get a wheelbase, a wheel attached to it, a shifter, and pedals. In a world where a single load cell brake can set you back 4 figures, 2 G's on a wheelbase that needs a separate wheel to snap into it. But if you want something that's a step up above controlling a racing game with a controller, just using the 3/4 of an inch of steering with your thumb, and then the little bit of brake and throttle control that you get from the triggers, and the little bit of vibration feedback that you get, you could get something like this, although I have to say it really is not even worth the money. As you can see, the suctions onto your table, and granted the suction cup method works fine for something like this that doesn't provide a lot of Newton meters of torque or feedback, but you're spending money on something that you're honestly going to use for a couple of months and then pack up and want to get yourself something from Logitech or ThrustMaster that does provide enough feedback to make it feel like you're actually driving a vehicle. The whole point of racing simulation is to feel like you're driving cars that you don't feel safe driving or financially can't drive, or you are a racing car driver but you also like to practice in your sim. You know, I'm preaching to the choir here. All this equipment is very focused on a different demographic. This is very toyish. Now the V9, which I did review, that was the first model from PXN which I reviewed. This has been revised, and I do have to say cosmetically this is a big step up, and it does look like the pedals have also been enhanced, maybe a little bit more durability. The V9 was a bit of a letdown. The main shtick there was that you could adjust from 270 to 900 degrees of rotation, but the biggest problem with all of the PXN wheels, the entire ecosystem, is that there is terrible console compatibility, meaning you're limited to PlayStation 4, no PS5 support, a 4-year-old console with the PS4, and the way that you're going to achieve that is by plugging in a controller to achieve that licensing, as it's spoofing your console into thinking that it's connected to the regular controller. Now PXN's going to explain that that's just so you can use the controller to navigate the menus, but that's a bunch of horse hockey. It's so they can get the licensing to connect to the consoles. Now this is going to introduce additional input lag or delay on a wheel that already feels feels very laggy and slow because it is a cog or gear system and it's not a direct drive, and it doesn't have a high refresh rate of 400 hertz or any such thing. But Kevin, screw that, I'm getting this thing for PC. Well, you're also going to run into some issues because you have to switch on the fly between D and X input, and the only time you're going to be getting force feedback is when you're in D input, which is a very old protocol for PC gaming. X input has been the golden standard for ages, and the problem with that is some games don't even work with D input, so you're just shit out of luck, and the ones that do work, the force feedback is so numb and disconnected, feels like you're just using something that has centering, meaning when you let go of it, it snaps back to neutral, although it doesn't have the power, the Newton meters of torque, to make that effective either. So if you're using this for rally or drift, it makes snapping back to neutral where you just let go of the wheel and spin back. It doesn't have the power to really snap back to neutral on its own. You're kind of bringing it back around with your hand, which is never ideal. Doesn't work good on PC, really don't work good on console. But then on the site over here, they have the gall, the audacity to say realistic force feedback simulation. So chopping through all this marketing fluff made for simulation driving enthusiasts, how this wheel actually works is it does have dual electric motors, which are in a cog or gear, so not a belt, but it is a gear system, not direct drive, and it has a maximum strength of 3 Newton meters of torque, although I'm going to tell you right now, right off Jump Street, sister, the Logitech G923, which is the wheel that I was dailying before I got myself a direct drive wheelbase, has a maximum output of 2.2, 2.5 Newton meters of torque, in that range there, and that feels a lot more substantial and chunky. This claim of 3 Newton meters of torque, it felt very lacking in not only peak strength, but also those finite details where you feel the details of the road. You just ran over a different surface of tarmac. Now, one thing I really did like is going to be the wheel itself, which is 300 millimeters. Why don't you convert that into freedom units? It says millimeters here, centimeters here. Is it also 300 yards? Pick a unit of measurement, shall we? But in all realisticness, in all IRLness, it's a big wheel, which I do like. Unfortunately, that does numb down the sensation of the already weak force feedback. A larger diameter wheel and also a heavier wheel will make the perceived force feedback weaker through your hands. What I appreciate was the fact that it is a round wheel, not a D shape, versatile, ready to run kit. A round wheel is indeed the most versatile for the most different disciplines of racing, particularly rally and drifting, which really do require or greatly prefer a round wheel. Now, this wheel does detach from the base, but it is not a quick release system. It is a little plastic threaded. It sucks. It is slow to get on and off, and there's no real reason for the wheel to be detachable other than to be able to maybe replace the wheel if it breaks, but the wheelbase is still intact, or also to get in and out of your cockpit without banging your knee, but there is no ecosystem of replaceable wheels, so there's no real point of this being, I almost said quick release, it removing from the base. Having said that, there's only a ever so slight amount of flex when you are attached to the base, so that is nice. It does have 4 paddles. The top 2 are going to be for shifting, which felt tactile and clicky. They're not magnetic shifters or anything fancy like that, and they were too light for my liking, but they were not terrible by any means. I did greatly dislike the 2 linear paddles on the bottom, which generally can be used for gas and brake or clutch and handbrake and rally. Those had a very short throw, so I couldn't modulate them very good, and a very weird actuation point, which is non-adjustable in software. The software, I'm gonna just quickly jump ahead. It's a phone application. Enough said there. This TPR rubber coating was very grippy, almost a little bit too much. When I wanted the wheel to slip through my fingers and rally or drift, I found it catching my hand. Also, I have a habit of washing my hands before I sim race, but a lot of people have Dorito dust and greasy hands and stuff. This will collect all of that, and within a few months, this will be a slick material because it's all matted up with the goo and grease of your hands. The buttons themselves, no complaints. They weren't fantastic. They're not mechanical, clicky bits, but no complaints. They worked for buttons, except for the fact that unlike Logitech or ThrustMaster, which have that seamless console connectivity, that compatibility, where you plug it in and you're able to navigate your console, the home menu, games, the pedals are Hall effect sensors, which should be good for durability in the long run. They feel and are incredibly cheap and plasticky. They slide around your carpet like nobody's business, although there are some included rubberized feet, which do wonders. Although if you're mashing on the brake pedal, it's still going to slide around. Now, if you do hard mount this into a cockpit, there are standardized mounting screws. By unscrewing 2 of the screws on the back of the pedals, you can adjust the angle of the pedals, but it's truly minimal adjustment, and I honestly found the default position to be the one that would work for people with normal ankles. The back of the pedals just made me depressed. It's got this blue branding which screamed, hey, I'm a cheap product. product. Very not confidence inducing when it comes to QC or trusting this product in the long run. Moving on to the shifter, I've got some praise and I've got some, I'm going to beat it down a little bit too. It is a typical H-gate 6 with a down reverse, and there is also a sequential gear kit which you can apparently buy. I couldn't find it online anywhere, so I don't know where you would buy that. It does have a high-low function, which is cool if you're doing a trucking simulator and you have those extra gears to row through, and then it has a parking brake button, which I'm assuming sets the park brake. Now this is going to use a standardized plastic desk clamp, and the shifter itself was very notchy and also very durable. This is the exact same shifter that was on the V10, which I reviewed ages ago, and I pounded on that thing, really racked through the gears and haven't snapped the shaft or bent it or anything like that. The only thing I don't like is the actual shift knob, which is entirely plastic, so in comparison to the Logitech G shifter, which is leather wrapped and feels pretty nice in the hand, this felt pretty cheap in the shift knob material department, but the notchiness of the H-gate I did like. The application, I did subject myself to that, so you don't have to, made no adjustment whatsoever, so it did successfully pair up via Bluetooth to my unit, but every adjustment that I made to the pedals, to the wheelbase, didn't take effect on the wheelbase, so that was utterly useless and also upsetting that I installed an application that probably scrapes my data. I like the desk clamp that snaps the base to your desk, you big silly. It does require tools, so it's not toolless to tighten down like some of its competitors, but it does do a really good job. That's what I've been using. I haven't been screwing this into a cockpit, just snapping it onto my desk, which is solid wood, not hollow core or some kind of plywood that's going to snap apart. So as far as the overall user experience, having all 4 of these pieces connected and ready to run, I spent about 6 hours with this thing strapped to a folding cockpit, which was an incredibly unenjoyable experience. That was mostly because of the design of this folding cockpit, which has a lot of sway, give, or flex. My initial impressions getting up and running with the V99 on PC certainly didn't help that first 6 hours, as every single game that I played, which was Assetto Corsa, the OG from 2014, ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Dirt Rally 2.0, and Hibbity Bibbity. I think there was one more, but I can't think of it right now. None of the games were plug and play, ready to run. I've gotten really spoiled with my Logitech Pro wheel, where that sucker just kind of works to whatever platform you are trying to play on, and you're instantly navigating your console, and it's just seamless, and you can get to racing. Get back in the paddock, take off your racing gauntlets, remove your full face helmet, take your VR headset off, and get to setting this wheel up. Logitech and ThrustMaster, that are typical belt or pulley systems that people have been using for 10-15 years, tend to work better on console, PC, and overall have a better user experience for the same or less than what PXN is currently offering with the V99. So there is the verdict right there. I ain't gonna tap dance around it, partially because tap dancing shoes are slippery and I could hurt myself, but that's it right there. In 2025, the options for racing sim are so robust and ready to make you bust that for $400 you can get a direct drive wheelbase, which has never been the case. But my biggest recommendation is still going to be the Logitech G wheel, particularly if you can find it on sale, which you probably can, the G923, which is the wheel that I've had my fingers hurt, my racing icicles wrapped around lap after lap until I was ready to make the jump into direct drive, which is a video that I am going to be making in the near future. When do you know in your heart of hearts, your soul, that you should bust out your wallet and upgrade from a cog or belt style wheel? The PXN lineup simply isn't it, and they do have a direct drive wheelbase called the V10, which is their flagship, and I personally don't have any interest in checking out that wheelbase, despite the fact it does produce 6 Newton meters of maximum torque. I don't know why I said that like a robot, and that is a decent amount. It's still using the PXN phone app, so the experience is going to be the same. It uses a wireless power supply. What? For a direct drive wheelbase? And there is zero ecosystem because PXN, I don't really foresee going deep in the racing sim scene, so they're not going to have an expandable ecosystem of wheels for this wheelbase. This PXN kit is linked in the description below if you want to check it out. I do believe it's about $200 on Amazon right now, which is very cheap if you just want pedals, shifter, wheel, base. The G923, which I've seen for about like $250 on sale. You got to get the shifter separate, but it's got the base, the wheel, and the pedals, and it is leagues better when it comes to console and PC compatibility, just being able to plug and play, get up and running, and also feel the feedback. You're simming, brother or sister, you feel the road. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers, so this information will reach and assist them as well. Much like the back of the TV, I've got plugs for all of my socials down there in the description below. And your wallet will greatly thank you if you check the description, because there are exclusive discounts on a ton of products, including controllers, KontrolFreeks, keyboards, mouse pads, clothes, and energy drinks. And keep in mind that you, the viewer, keep this channel running. The more stallions and stallionettes trotting around the stable, the better, so mollywop that subscribe button like it owes you money, and we'll have the same amount of fun tomorrow.
That's enough out of you. That's enough out of you for one day.